Hey, and welcome to Unlearning Stress, the podcast where we break the rules and cycles that keep you overcommitted, overstretched, and just plain exhausted, and replace them with something better. No fluff, no guilt, just real talk, real solutions, and expert insights to help you shift the way you live. Whether you're here for the first time or you've been with me for a while, you're in the right place. I'm Mischelle O'Neill, your resident emotional wellness coach, and I'm here to help you unlearn the patterns that are wearing you down so you can live with more ease, clarity, and control. Let's get to it.
So you can know the right thing, you can believe the right thing, and you can even say the right thing, but still not live it. And that's the gap. That's where most of us are stuck. We think because we understand something that we've integrated it, right? But understand that this is just the start. And integration is when the knowing has become so deeply settled in your bones that it becomes who you are. It becomes how you think, how you speak, how you respond on default without even thinking, without needing a pep talk or a plan. This is the week that we stop mistaking action for alignment, because you can act out of fear, out of performance, out of desperation to feel like you're doing, well, something. But integration, integration is what shifts your nervous system. It's what gives you peace. It's what allows you to rest, not because the work is done, but because you've become someone who can carry it with clarity. You're not just doing the thing, you are the woman who does the thing. And that's the difference. That's the work. And you know what? Most women don't get stuck because they're lazy or unaware. We know that we're not lazy, right? They get stuck because they misread the signs. You think it's clarity, but really it's desire dressed up as direction. You think you're supposed to go one way because it feels so close, it feels so right, it feels possible. And it looks like what other people have done to get where you want to go. But deep down, if you listen, it's not quite right. And sometimes we don't know that until we're halfway in. I thought I was supposed to sing. Growing up, that was my dream. I just knew that I was to be the singer who reached and touched so many through my voice and the words that I said. And that was how I thought I was to reach women, through music, through emotion, through performance. And I was good. I was great at being a performer. I really had a knack for that. But there was this ceiling that I couldn't push through. I couldn't grasp that technical excellence that I craved, that desire to rule my instrument the way I wanted to. And it took me years to realize that it wasn't about being center stage. It was about what I carried within the story, not the spotlight. And looking back, I see how each misstep still layered me with wisdom. I learned from each stage presence. I learned how to feel, how to communicate. I learned how to listen, how to hold a story and let it land. Integration doesn't mean that you always know the path. It means you let your misreading mature you. And here's what research actually says. It says most people misjudge how long something will take It's called that planning fallacy, a term that was actually coined by a psychologist, and it's the brain's tendency to misestimate or underestimate time and cost and the risk that things will take us, even when we've done something similar before. And so if you've ever felt behind or disoriented, look, you're not alone. It's not a failure. It's neurology. But what integration says is, I've learned the pattern, and now I prepare with more wisdom. And the thing is, here's where the real shift happens. Once you know that, you stop expecting every new step to feel like a straight line. You start listening for alignment over applause. You learn to pause long enough to ask, is this really mine to do? Do I want this because it's right or because it's familiar? Would I still choose this if no one clapped, if there was no applause, no recognition? Integration doesn't mean you always get it right the first time. Oh, by no means. It means that you finally stop outsourcing your knowing. And you know what? Integration doesn't start in your schedule. I wish. It starts in your spirit. Before anything changes out there, it has to change in here. That's why most self-improvement never sticks. It tries to shift the habit without answering the heartbeat. But once your thinking starts to rewire, your behavior becomes more inevitable. For me, that shift was painfully simple. I had to slow down and listen. Not just to what others were saying, not just to what I thought I should be doing, but to the quiet truth beneath all that noise. And that's where things started to move. We're so conditioned to act fast that we miss how often we're circling, running in circles. Speed feels like purpose and hustle looks like momentum. But when I finally got still, I mean, really still, I saw that cycle for what it was. I was repeating patterns, just in a more polished way. Dressed up doubt, high functioning avoidance, another version of that same contradiction. And I couldn't outrun it anymore. And here's where integration is different from insight. And I want you to get this. Insight, it feels good. It really does. And integration, well, it costs something. It demands space and honesty and the willingness to sit in discomfort long enough to allow it to speak. Psychologists call this cognitive restructuring. It's the moment when our minds begin to replace unhelpful beliefs with grounded truths. But spiritually, it's deeper. It's the renewing of the mind that Paul speaks about in Romans 12:2. Not just chasing your thoughts, but surrendering them to something that is higher and truer. And for me, that means God. Because it's not enough to just know what needs to change. You have to trust yourself to live it. That was the turning point when I realized that this wasn't about fixing myself or finally figuring it all out. It was about becoming the kind of woman who moves from wholeness, not that hustle. One who knows that clarity doesn't always scream, it often whispers. And when you can hear that whisper, you know that you've changed. Not because you tried harder, but because you surrendered deeper. So the truth is, high functioning women, they know how to look like they're growing. You can recite affirmations. You can tweak the routine. You can show up with a different posture and a pristine planner pages. But the question remains, are you actually different or just rehearsing better? Rehearsing better versions of the same old pattern. Integration isn't about appearing aligned. It's about returning to alignment. When life knocks you off track, and the first real sign of that is that you catch yourself quicker. You don't spiral as long, and you don't entertain thoughts that tear you down. You don't sell yourself out for scraps of validation, and you notice the old impulse. And instead of following it, you pause. You breathe. And then you choose differently. And you do it again the next day. When you're integrating, peace becomes your clue. You feel settled even when it's hard. That's a quiet knowing. That's the knowing that this is who I am now. Not because everything is perfect, but because you finally stopped trying to earn clarity and started living from it. You stopped needing to be convinced. You stopped outsourcing your confidence. You don't ask, is this the right thing? You ask, is this in alignment with what I know God already showed me? That's the shift. There's no longer a gap between what you say you believe and how you believe. Your boundaries stop being performative. They become protective. Your decisions stop being dramatic. They become deliberate. And you no longer need a crisis to come back to the center. You belong to yourself now. And you can feel it, not just in your mind, but in your body, in your choices, in the way you move through a room without shrinking, apologizing, or second guessing. This is integration, not the absence of fear, but the presence of anchoring. Not perfection, but consistency. Not performance, but peace. Look, you've read the books. You've listened to the podcasts. You've nodded through the sermons, the reels, the master classes. You know better. So why does it still feel like nothing's changing? That's the ache of misalignment. It's not that you're ignorant. It's that you're tired of being inspired but unchanged. You're tired of being almost there, of having the language but not the embodiment, of knowing the truth but still defaulting to the performance. And to be honest, that's dissonance. And it wears on you. It makes you wonder if something's broken, if maybe you're the one woman who won't get it. You wonder if you'll ever stop feeling like you're circling the same mountain, almost, nearly, not quite. And here's the truth, the hard truth. Integration doesn't happen in a vacuum. It takes a reckoning, a real, honest look at the cost of performing what you never truly internalized. Not from shame, but from a grief. Because staying the same costs you something too. Your peace, your power, your purpose, your time. And it's time to own that. Not to punish yourself, but to wake up. If you don't feel the shift yet, start with these questions. What has God made unshakably clear this quarter? What does faithfulness actually look like right now? Where have you been tempted to quit just because something hasn't produced? And most importantly, are you still assigned to this, even when you don't feel it today? Ask those questions slowly. Ask them prayerfully. This is where integration begins again. Not in a burst of hype, but in the quiet decision to return, to listen, to obey, to trust what you already know instead of chasing more content, more opinions, more noise. Integration isn't about inspiration. It's about interruption. It's not about feeling brave. It's about being anchored. And when you catch yourself drifting again, because you will, it's not a sign of failure. It's a call back to clarity. This is how it becomes who you are. Not because you said the right thing in a moment, but because you choose the aligned thing over and over until it shaped you. And if that feels hard today, here's what I want you to remember. You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from awareness. And that is a wonderful place to begin. And if you need help on this journey, if you need someone to walk you through just understanding how to break one pattern, one process, I'm here for you. All you need to do is comment or find me and DM me, and I'll leave links below. Reset. And I will know what you're asking, and I'll reach out to you. Until next time, I want you to take care. Stay strong. Bye-bye.
If this episode hits home, don't just push it aside. Lean into it. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And connect with me on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Substack, where we go even deeper. Links will be in the comments. And if you're ready to start unlearning the patterns that keep you stuck, keep listening, because real change happens one choice at a time. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.